Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're talking about the Dior Capture Totale Super Potent Serum Foundation. We're going to do a demo, wear test, review. There are timestamps down below, so go ahead and check those out. But before we go any further, let's take a second to grab our iced coffee or a hot coffee. Let's take a sip and let's get started. Okay, so this is a Serum skincare foundation. This came out in 2022. It didn't seem to make a huge splash, but I got this for Christmas and I thought I would give you a review now that I've been testing it out for a few weeks. This is described as a correcting and age-defying serum foundation. It is meant to be firming. It is meant to help with the appearance of wrinkles and dark spots, and it's also supposed to give you a radiant finish. This is 30 ml and it retails at $85 USD plus tax. I wear the shade 3N and this is what the bottle looks like here. So this is 3N. So when you wear this, you are meant to shake this vigorously before applying. And one thing I have to note is that the shade range for this is not great. There are only 11 shades to choose from, which is quite odd because typically Dior has a lot of shades to choose from, but for whatever reason, this foundation here doesn't have a great shade range. So I am 3N, that's my shade, and it goes up to a 7N. So yeah. A bit more about the product. It says that the new Capture Totale Super Potent Serum, so it must be a new formulation, harnesses the science of mother cells and Dior's skincare expertise. It acts to correct 4 facial parameters for a youthful complexion by targeting wrinkles, dark spots, and loss of firmness and radiance. So it's going to tackle all those things at once. The Serum foundation is melt-in. Luminous texture instantly leaves the skin smooth, radiant, and supple. The foundation stays in place all day, providing comfort and hydration for a long-lasting plumping effect. I'm going to go ahead and include the ingredient list right here. Feel free to pause and read. Now, this foundation does have an SPF of 20, but I always recommend that you wear an SPF underneath just to get more sun protection. There's also a little bit more information on the packaging here. It says that the serum foundation is enriched with hyaluronic acid. It's supposed to give you an instant smooth effect. It offers complete correction as well because they keep saying serum foundation, which means that it's going to be more of a liquid runny texture. And also this is part skincare as well. It's a supple formula. It's going to correct visible signs of aging without emphasizing them. That's very important. Wrinkles, visible pores, and loss of firmness and radiance are all going to be perfected with this foundation here. It also is supposed to correct the skin's texture. So if you have texture issues like pores, it is supposed to refine that as well. Now, typically, I love the Capture Totale Dream Skin Primer. I love that primer. For me, if I'm noticing dilated pores or texture, that is the primer that I use. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. Let's go ahead and show you what the foundation looks like. So this is one pump here. I would say that it is runny like a serum, but it isn't quite like water. You can see it running down the back of my hand, but some serum foundations really just run like water completely. I've sort of just left it here for a few moments and this is about as runny as it's going to get. So I'm just going to use a brush here and use a little bit because I certainly don't need a full pump. I like to even out my complexion, but I don't like to hide my skin. I want my foundation to leave me looking beautiful, but I want to feel like I still have skin underneath. I do have some redness in the center of my face, and I do think that it is correcting it when I apply it. I've only sort of done half of my face here, but if we compare, I shouldn't have done a little swatch here, but if we compare, I do think that this side, you can see the redness diminished instantly. Now, this is also meant to be moisturizing and hydrating. even for the driest of skin. That's what it says, which for me is interesting because I am 35, I have dry, dehydrated skin, and I also live in Montreal. So in this time period, I definitely need something that's going to be moisturizing and hydrating long term. When you apply this on the skin, it does blend very quickly. It doesn't really take much effort. It sort of melts in and looks very seamless. I still have this much of the full pump here on the back of my hand. So I do think that it's very quick to sort of melt into the skin. It sort of melts a bit more like skincare. You know, sometimes with a foundation, it can look streaky and you just have to sort of blend and blend and blend. This doesn't feel like that at all. This is the finish here. This is a half pump. This is the coverage that you get. You could use a little bit more and a spot correct, but this is how much coverage you have for a half pump. I would say that this is a nice light, more medium coverage foundation. It's a bit more medium, I would say, but the fact that the texture is so runny, it's very serum-like, I find that it stretches a bit more and is easier to apply sometimes if it's a medium coverage foundation where the texture is a bit less fluid. It takes more work to blend, but because it is more serum-like, it does just sort of melt into the skin faster. If you wanted less coverage, apply a little bit more, but for me, I think that this is the this is the finish that I want and the coverage that I want. I would say it's like closer to a medium than light. And this is the radiant finish. This is radiant. It's not matte. It's not too glowy, but this is the finish. I'm not wearing any powder. I did not wear a primer. There's no highlighter. This is just the foundation on my skin here. So you can still see a little bit of imperfections, beauty marks. I have a little breakout here that's been percolating for a few weeks, but overall it does correct, it does smooth. I think my pores are not more visible than before, that's for sure. I don't know if they've been completely erased. Let me do a closer inspection. I would say that my pores look a little bit more blurred than before, because typically when I want to hide texture, I will use the Dream Skin primer. But when I've been using this foundation, I haven't used a primer because I find that it's a combination of the Dream Skin, because Dream Skin is part of Capture Totale. So it sort of has that refining, blurring, component mixed into the foundation here. So I do think that the texture is nice. I do think it doesn't feel too tacky. It feels a little bit, not wet, but moisturized. That's how it feels like. It feels like, I don't feel like I have moisturizer on my skin, but if I touch it, it feels like I have moisturizer. If you are someone with very dry, mature skin, this will instantly give you a more youthful appearance because of how moisturizing it is. I find that the glow here, it doesn't necessarily increase as the day goes on. I'll include wear tests a little bit later, but this is about the glow. This is about it you're going to get all day. So this is definitely more for dry, dehydrated, mature skin, or even if you have normal skin and you just happen to live in a very cold climate, or even dry, like if you live in an area that's very dry, this is a type of, I was going to say moisturizer, no, it's a type of foundation for you, because I definitely look more moisturized and more hydrated. This claims that the skin will instantly appear more supple, firm, and plump. I think my skin looks more supple and more plump because of the moisture and hyaluronic acid just sort of applied on my skin. I don't know if it looks more firm, but I think 2 out of 3 definitely are working in my favor. I'm going to go ahead and add a bit of concealer now, and I will blend it here with you just to show you how this works with other products. This is the corrector. This is the shade 2WP, but this is the older formula, not the new one that just got reformulated before Christmas. And then I'm going into a bit of blush as well. This is Kevyn Aucoin, and this is the shade Grapevine here. And the lipstick is Clé de Peau in Power Mauve. Okay, let's examine the makeup. So, like I stated, no primer, no highlighter, no face powder, and this gives you a very beautiful, radiant look. Because I have, dry, dehydrated skin, I live in Montreal, I don't mind a soft, luminous, radiant finish. I do enjoy a velvet matte finish, but this also I think is very beautiful. I look incredibly healthy. My skin looks very healthy, very youthful, very plump, and I do really enjoy the finish. But if you have oily skin or sort of combination oily skin and you live in a hot tropical climate, I don't think this is going to be for you. And as much as I enjoy this foundation now, I think in the warmer months, I definitely will add a more mattifying face powder just to sort of diminish a little bit of the radiance, because I do think that it is nice, but when it's really hot, you don't really need that much help in looking very radiant. I'm going to go ahead and include a wear test here. This is after about 6 hours of wear. I do find that this foundation is incredibly resilient, especially because it is more radiant. Oftentimes these types of foundations tend to break down a bit more, but this held up very, very nicely. I always check to see if there's going to be anything built up or caked up in the smile lines, because I smile and laugh a lot. It doesn't pick up on anything. It doesn't really seem to pick up on texture. I haven't exfoliated properly in like a couple of weeks now, but that doesn't really seem to be an issue. I'm not seeing the foundation being picked up on any peach fuzz or any sort of texture like that. I do find that it is incredibly long wearing, and this sort of moisturizing aspect of the foundation does seem to linger throughout the whole day. It claims to be moisturizing and hydrating for the entire day, and I do actually think that it does that. I think that this is a very good foundation. To me, it's like they took Capsule Totale Dream Skin and they mixed it in with a really nice long wearing and moisturizing foundation that has a nice medium coverage. So when I wear this, I skip the primer because I just think it's already mixed in. But if you want it to be extra, which I appreciate, you could go ahead and apply a primer beforehand and then go into this. But on its own, I think it's very beautiful. I think it's radiant. I do think it's moisturizing. I don't know if it's going to visibly lift and firm your skin. I do think that texture, like pores and, wrinkles and things like that are diminished. It does also correct blemishes as well. So it is a very expensive primer. It's a very expensive foundation. That's the thing. It's 85 USD plus tax. It's very expensive. Yes. So I would recommend maybe trying to get a sample first to make sure you get the right shade. I don't know if this is necessarily something that you need. That's really up to you. You know what your budget is. You know what your collection looks like. I'm very happy to have this, but I mean, you're a grown woman. You can make up your own mind. So yeah, if you are someone who has mature skin and maybe all of your skincare collection looks like anti-aging, things like that, this is probably the type of foundation you would like because it is foundation mixed with skincare. I can see its appeal in that sense. So if you're someone who's already very invested in your skincare line, I think this is a type of foundation that you would enjoy. But like I said, there are caveats. If you have dry, mature skin, this is something for you. If you have very oily skin and you live in a super tropical climate, I don't think this would be for you. So yeah, that is my review on the Dior Capsule Totale Super Potent Serum Foundation. Let me know what you think in the comments. I know this came out in 2022. I think 2022 or 2021 maybe, and it didn't really seem to make a huge splash for whatever reason, but I was curious to test it out, especially for this type of climate. I was sort of waiting for, the depths of winter to test it out, and I am very pleasantly surprised. I think it's a nice foundation. It wears nicely. I like the radiance. I think it's just enough. It's not too much. Sometimes a radiant foundation can be a little too overboard and look greasy and too fake, whereas this just looks incredibly healthy. Like, you get all of your fruit and veg in, you do some yoga, and your skin just looks very nice and radiant. So that is that on today's foundation review. So please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you like these reviews of foundations, even though they're not brand spanking new. I personally like to test out, especially foundations like this, because this way I don't get swept up with all the hype, and I have time to test things out and see for myself. First of all, if it's for my skin type, and if it's something that I actually need and want. So yeah, leave a comment down below. Make sure you're subscribed, and I think that's all I have for you guys for today. So thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.